Welcome back to the Irish Mags Show. It is episode 94. 94 weeks of us talking nonsense, but thankfully not Chris Show dancing if you are watching on YouTube. Chris Show, please don't make a habit of that. You can save that for episode 100, please.
Yeah.
Nobody needs to see that on the internet. Well, I am Paul. I am your host for this week and all of the weeks, and I am joined by Mr. Alan Williamson and Mr. Chris Show Martin, who are both currently sporting some lovely, delicious Irish Mags merch, which I believe, lads, can be found online. A brand new range. Is that correct, Alan Williamson?
That is correct. So we do have our new range brought to you by the Half Volley, who are our wonderful helpers with the Irish Mags gear. So all of our social medias, you'll find the links. There could even be a 10% discount floating about if you're part of our official supporters club. Wink, wink, nod, nod, nudge, nudge. So keep your eyes out. Yeah, we did drop a new range about 2 weeks ago. Mr. Chris O'Martin is currently wearing the not North Face one. What are you talking about? There's nothing to do with North Face. That's the Irish Mags.
That's the Irish Mags.
So yeah, you'll see an awful lot of gear. You're like, that looks like something. No, it doesn't. What are you talking about? It's all original ideas brought to you by us. Don't be worried about it.
That's how we roll.
No copyright infringement at all.
Not at all. No, we would never do that on this podcast or anywhere else for that matter. I'm going to include a link in the description because after we record this episode, I'm going to go shopping. I'm currently in my home house. As I mentioned, I'm spending a couple of weeks out at home, and I'm literally down to the bare bones. I'm wearing like a plain boot. It's neither Newcastle nor Irish Mags. It's just like last t-shirt on the pod. So it's time to go shopping, I think. So we'll put that on the priority list. But yes, link in the description if you're looking for any of the lovely Irish Mags merch. Beginning of the season, it'll be a long campaign. A lot of games as well where you get your chances to show it off around the country of Ireland and around Newcastle if you're making it over. Or away days, which we'll be having a chat about in a while as well, lads. Right. A lot's happened since we last recorded, lads. I don't think this has ever happened. We've had 3 games since we last recorded. And I'm completely lost. We sat down, big behind the curtain. We sat down. We're like, right, what are we talking about? Shit. Both Barcelona, Bournemouth, and Bradford have all happened since we last recorded. So we're not used to doing it in this format. We're going to have to kind of fly through and take a kind of a high-level look about how that week or so has gone. It's literally been a week. It was, Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday?
Yes.
So 3 games in 7 days. This is what happens when you are a massive club.
That is
Tough
right.
at the top, lads. It's tough at the top.
Tough at the top, but we've been at the bottom, and I know where I'd rather be. So long may we stay there. So we're going to chat through those and then shift our eyes to this weekend because, dare I say it, lads, Lego Head returns to St. James's Park. The tears will be flowing, the moaning and the groaning. And I look forward to savouring every minute from the stadium because I'm heading to Newcastle myself for my first game of the season. And I can't fucking wait. There's the first swear of the evening.
It's
A euro in the jar, please.
Well, look at Arsenal. He's going to obviously complain about the ball, complain about the weather, complain about the stadium. He's going to complain about the trip up. You know, I tell you what, they're going to get tripped up as soon as they get there because Joe Linton. Well, I know we're going to talk about it, but Joe Linton is back to 100% beast mode.
Love it.
Sandro's the best midfielder in the Premier League, and then Bruno is the greatest captain we've had since
sliced bread.
Shearer.
Can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait. And look, Arsenal fans, lads, they're already on one this season as far as I'm concerned because the same fans who literally were protesting in the summer when the club signed Noni Madueke, right? They were literally like out in social media, like enforcing, oh, this is a terrible signing. Why are we signing this player? If he's not good enough for Chelsea, he's not good enough for us, yada, 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 yada. He then has been their best player since the season started. Got injured in that recent game was it against City or was it before that? Can't remember.
Halftime City. Yeah, he came out the halftime against City.
Came off. And now they're saying, oh, that's it. Season's fucked. Madueke's injured. It's like that. Pick a lane, choose a lane and stay in your lane, but don't be jumping over and back like the lunacy of it all. But anyway, we like to bait those fans and hopefully we'll bait the shite of them on Sunday when they come to St. James's Park.
Yes, we will.
In a sporting context. We're not going to go fighting them, hopefully, because we try and avoid that as best as we can.
It's our easiest game of September. Just saying. Do you know what I mean? You might have thought Bradford was, but this one is.
No, this hopefully will be the last game of September, and it's going to tee up an interesting conversation when we get there, because I have no idea what the squad's going to be, the lineup, the formation. I just don't know. But we'll save that for a little bit later in the podcast, because I want to get through the last 7 days, and a lot has happened in 7 days. Krisho,
yes,
you have been eagerly watching the three Bs, Barcelona, Bournemouth, and Bradford taking place. So literally in 7 days, we've had Champions League, first game of the Champions League. We've had a tricky away tie in the Premier League, and then a phrase I've just been dying to say, lads. The first game as defending champions of the Carabao Cup, the League Cup, the holders, against Bradford. So, Krisho, I suppose we're not going to go into too much detail game by game, but what I'd like to hear is, as you saw each game unfold from Barcelona to Bournemouth to Bradford, particularly focusing on the lineups, the formation and tactics used by Eddie Howe in each game, the rotation, and then ultimately, do you think the results were justified over the course of those 3 games?
Barcelona game, I mean, just this Wizard thing is really throwing a spanner in the works for everything. I think he would have had a much clearer picture of what his front three would be and how he was going to switch it and so on. I don't know if that's me, guys, sorry. To switch it. But playing Gordon up front, look, this is going to be a common thread through what I say, right? Al, I don't know whether you're going to agree with me or not. Gordon's been piss poor. I know he scored against Barcelona, but he's been piss poor. He was piss poor against Bournemouth. He was piss poor against Bradford last night. He got a lot of chances. And a guy of his talent, we should have won at least 8-9-1 last night with him getting 4 or 5 goals. He's off it. I don't know what it is exactly, but he's off it. But against Barcelona, against Bournemouth, it's interesting to see them go with Schär and to go with Byrne. And then against Bradford, I got to see, I'm not sure what you guys, but I got to see the up-and-coming Schär, maybe, is Botman and Chow. His passing is exactly like Schär's. Botman is a class act. He's back to his best. I know it was against Bradford, but they were kicking and swinging and coming at them hard. The Barcelona game, it's a little bit unfair. I personally believe we had Wissa playing off Voltemade, and I know we'll get to that, lads, in a little bit, maybe the next podcast or later on. But if we had 2 up front, with Voltemade's link-up play is delicious. It's absolutely delicious. If we would have had him, I think we would have got a draw out of the Barcelona game. Bournemouth game was very frustrating. It was a frustrating watch. Frankly, it was incredibly boring. There was only 1 shot on target in the second half. It was a snooze fest. But look, we kept a clean sheet. Pope did well again. I don't know how he keeps doing it, but he did it again. And then Bradford was just a delicious watch because it was tiki-taka football. I thought I was watching Barcelona at St James's Park last night. Okay, Bradford are League One, but we passed it around them. We made them look good. And I'm glad that Miley played well, because he didn't play well against Bournemouth. And for a young lad to put something up on Twitter and have to turn off the comments, that's a little bit unacceptable. Like, we should be backing this young lad. But he played very well last night. I think he plays well with John Linton and Bruno in the middle. But it was a pleasure to watch last night. I really enjoyed it. It was real. We could have, like Al, we were saying earlier, we could have won 8-9-1 last night. Yeah. But look, disappointing against Barcelona, but we could have got a draw. I was proud of it. I had a great night with the lads. Bournemouth was a snooze fest, but again, Eddie Howe is really having to start again and build a new way of playing, especially with Voltemade. He's kind of lumbering about the place, and it's hard to get the ball in and around him. So he comes out, gets the ball, does a beautiful pass, and then he's not turning on his heel and running into the box to get on to the end of it. He's kind of hanging around outside. So we need a striker. We need Wissa. We need Wissa as soon as possible, lads.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely been missing, I think, that kind of natural goal scoring instinct, that player to find himself in the right positions and then the composure to finish. And I've picked out a few things, Alan, that I want to quiz you on in terms of stuff that Krisho said. I picked out 4 or 5 things here. Let's take the Gordon point in particular. Yeah. We know Gordon isn't a centre forward by any stretch of the imagination. Played as a false 9 for England and in the under-21 Euros. I think he was player of the tournament. Ever since then, Eddie Howe has tried to use him like as a backup or when desperate or when needed or just kind of encourage the idea like, you can do this. Can he not?
He can play up front. in the same sense that a right winger can play on the left-hand side, but they're not comfortable on the left-hand side. He is a left winger. And playing him out, and it's, you might say, oh, he says he can do it. I could say mass, doesn't mean it's true. He's a left winger. That's where you get the best out of him, and that's the end of it. He can do a job, but it's severely stunted in comparison to what he does on the left-hand side. He's only going through the middle because we're short on striking options at the minute. I love Willow Silva. He's not ready yet. Baltimore wasn't fit, and Vissa isn't fit either. So he's dug us out of a hole when we've needed him. So I don't want to be too detrimental or too harsh on him. But I now think we have enough in Baltimore, Vissa, and Asula to not have to see Gordon up front anymore. So yeah, I do not agree with Crusoe how he's saying he hasn't started well, because I think he has started okay. Like, he got the goal against Barca. He was bar putting the ball in the back of the net. He literally done everything last night against Bradford. Bradford keeper Wilson, was it? I can't remember his name. What a game. That man kept that game from being 10-1. And I hold my hands up. I didn't see a whole heap of that game. I was at a wedding. I was watching it on my phone and actually got given out by the bride for watching the match on my phone in the middle of a wedding.
Classic, Al.
But come here. It was one of them games where keeper had the best game of his life. If the first shot had got in from Gordon would have got a hat-trick.
Yeah.
That's the type of player Gordon is. He needs the first thing that he does in the game to go right, and then he's going to have a great game. Whereas if the first thing he tries doesn't really go right, you're like, oh, he could struggle today. He might not work out today, but he's a confidence player, and he will come good. But he'll come good on the left-hand side and not as a striker.
Jeez. Because, I mean, we've got Barnes. Like, Barnes is itching. He's literally itching to get on every day.
What has Harvey Barnes done this season? He got
an assist against Bradford last night.
Wait. He has a nice link up. Call it checks if you want, Ali. He has a nice link up with Valdemare with Big Nick. They work well together. They look like they work well together.
Yeah. I can guarantee you Gordon will do the same after 2 or 3 weeks of playing together.
I think the point here, like, I just what this brings me back to, there was a point, I can't remember at what point it was last season, before Christmas maybe, when Barnes was injured, and Gordon was quite good, and he had racked up some really good numbers up to Christmas, I think, particularly against some of the bigger teams, and he was like goal or assist, 6 or 7 games in a row. Barnes got injured, I think, and then Gordon was just kind of like, I'm guaranteed to start every game, and his form dipped. And I think that's something similar. Maybe it's happened with Barnes. Like, there isn't really anyone else on the left, so coming into the start of the season, it was like, okay, Gordon's going to have to be up front because the striker situation is a mess. Barnes is like, well, that's me on the left. Then Gordon gets himself sent off. Barnes is like, well, that's me on the left. I just feel like that kick is needed, which is going to be Barnes dropped, Gordon plays on the left, and Gordon plays well and scores, and potentially this weekend because he's back for the Arsenal game, right?
Yeah.
And you feel like sometimes you just feel like that is what's needed to really kick a player at the top, because these players are already at the top level of football. They're in the top 1% of footballers in the world when you think about the level they play at. They need that extra kick, and you'd hope that the two of them competing for that left-hand side is what pushes both of them, because that's what we used to see with Wilson and 3 of the strikers who shall not be named, and that's what you need in those positions. So I think there's something at play there. Sticking with that side of the pitch, but for a different team, because I went into a little meet-up in Galway for the Barcelona game and sat down and had a pint with a couple of the lads. And I turned to the boys and said, lads, I'd nearly be okay with anything that transpires here as long as that prick Marcus Rashford doesn't score. And
you have to say it.
It's my fault. It's all my fault, because obviously it was inevitable it was going to happen. What really gets me with this one, Krisho, is that Trippier pocketed him for the majority of the first half, and he didn't look a threat at all. And then they get a bit lucky. He pops up with a header. He was unmarked. Cher, I think it was Cher that
was nowhere near him.
Yeah, and we've seen Cher do that before, sadly. The second goal, nobody saves that as far as I'm concerned.
No,
but I think the second goal doesn't happen if he doesn't get to score the first goal, because that just gives him a pep in his step. And it's like Rashford is like, oh, I've scored, everybody loves me, now I'm going to go and show off. And like, fair play to him, he's a good player, and he did. But it had to be fucking Marcus Rashford. And I think barring those moments, I'm like, we absolutely should have got something from this game.
No, 100% we should have. No, there's no doubt. I mean, The crack was almighty. Just want to shout out to the Bleecker Street. It was a right crack down there, downstairs and upstairs. We had a right crew and right excited about the whole day. Right, we were down there, I think, since 6:30 or 6:15 or so. So right out, yeah, I can't remember either because I can't even remember going home. I think I knocked into an Indian and bought some sag paneer. I don't know what I did, but I got home sometime. But it was a hard watch in the sense that I kind of felt we should be 2 up. Gordon got a chance. This is again, I'm mentioning Gordon again. We all saw Al. It's like if time slowed down. I don't know how he missed it. I don't understand how he missed it.
A fully fit and flying Gordon buries that, by the way. Just as if he hadn't been out suspended, that ball is getting rattled into the back of the net. But it is what it is. Hindsight's 2020 and all that.
It's just another thing that was roaming around, Paul, is that it's kind of a little bit like we talked about.
It changed. It would have changed.
That
would have changed. It literally would have changed the game. And you're right. We haven't been taking. When we don't take chances at a period at the season where we're not creating loads of them, of course, it's costly. And we've seen, like, there was that where was it? Alanga goes through 1-on-1 a couple of weeks back, doesn't score. Was that Liverpool?
Leeds.
Can't remember.
Yeah.
Those chances are the ones that you'd hope we don't look back on next May and go, that was the difference between 1 point and 3, or no points
or
and 1,
or 4th and 8, or whatever,
goal difference, whatever. You know what I mean? So we need, like, if it's a case that we're getting these out of the system early because things are a little bit rusty and raw and all over the shop up front, and you're like, right, at some point it has to click, then fine. But again, it's not something you want to carry or repeat too many times throughout the season because you just don't get those chances.
Absolutely. Just one last thing on the Barca game before we move on a little bit. I'd rather be given out saying, I can't believe we lost 2-1 at home to Barcelona.
Yeah.
We're giving out about losing 2-1 at home to arguably the second or third best side in the world.
I know, but it's when it's once the game is played out and you see how we were playing and you see how we had them so rattled at the beginning of that. Like the pub we were watching in, lads, was full to the brim of students because it was fresh as we can Galway, which we did not anticipate. And there was about 20 young lads in front of us. But they were loving it. They were loving watching Newcastle do this. They were shouting Toon Army and everything. There wasn't a Newcastle fan between them. But they were just loving that we were rattling Barcelona and just going, oh yeah, let's get on board the Newcastle bandwagon, because they thought Newcastle were going to score and win, and that was going to make their night if they were all, watching the same big screen.
Yeah.
But that's literally what happened. But again, it's just, and I've seen this before, our game plan is to absolutely go at them for 15, 20 minutes. But we need to score in that 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. Otherwise, you get to 20, 25 minutes in, and there's a combination of you can't keep that up. You let the other team get a bit of the ball, a bit of momentum, and you've kind of almost missed that chance if you've not scored. And I've seen us do that, sadly, a few times, but I understand why it's happening. In the past, it's just been frustration. Now it's a case of, well, look, it'll come.
One other little thing. We rant and rave about Sandro Tonali, Joe Linton, and Bruno Guimaraes. Pedri is another level. My God.
We couldn't put a hand on it. We couldn't put a hand on it when they had the ball. It was unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. Like it was magnetic.
He genuinely could go into a phone box with 4 other people and find 4 yards of space. He is sensational. I've always thought he was very, very good, and I've watched him a few times. It was the first time where I've looked fully in a game. I'm like, no, we're going to have this midfield, but we didn't get near him. I was like, we didn't get near him. He was sensational. He's so good. So that's the next level we have to get to, and we have players that could get there, but we need to get them there. But we can do it. We can do it.
Yeah,
I actually do think that Pedri is quite possibly the best midfielder in the world, and I have thought so for some time. And the only thing that's been getting at him is injuries over the last 3 years, let's say. And that's the only thing that has stopped more narrative about him, and even like more conversations in terms of things like Ballon d'Or and all that. Mm-hmm. And if he can stay fit, Luka Modric won the Ballon d'Or in 2015, I think. Possibly, could be wrong there.
10 years ago.
Yeah. But like barring Rodri, obviously last year, like not many centre midfielders win the Ballon d'Or. Obviously, defenders never win.
And wingers, yeah.
Yeah, but it's something to keep an eye on. Pedri's still incredibly young, and like Barcelona are improving. They're a bit wild for that type of player to be in, because they concede a lot and they're a bit erratic, but he's phenomenal, lads. He's unbelievable, and has been from the moment he joined Barcelona, like at 17. So anyway, this isn't a Barcelona podcast. Fuck them all, especially Marcus Rashford. Alan, I wanted to ask you quickly then, because this will kind of tee us up to look ahead to the weekend. If we look at two things that we observed over these 3 games, which is tactics and rotation / squad depth. So Eddie Howe was 4-3-3, I suppose, against Barcelona.
Yeah.
We then flipped to the 3-5 or the 5-3-2 or 5-3-1, whatever. 5-3-1-1, 3-5-2-2, whatever. Flips to that for Bournemouth. And then obviously Bradford is Bradford, right? There's a heavy rotation. And looking at those two things hand in hand, if we're going to take positive, I've never seen us 2 games in a row make, I think 7 changes in both games.
Yeah.
From Barcelona to Bournemouth, 7 changes, then from Bournemouth to Bradford, 7 changes. But still both relatively rotated to an extent.
Yeah.
I suppose, barring the shock that Joe Linton and Bruno played 90 minutes against Bradford.
Yeah.
Things that I would not expect to happen, that is up there. But just how does it make you feel in terms of what our tactical options are going forward and how our depth is and what that might mean? Well, no, look, we'll come to Arsenal later, actually. Don't talk about Arsenal. But just in terms of like the depth options we have and the tactical flexibility we have, do you feel good about it?
The last 2 years we've been crying. We've no depth. The last 3 games we've played 3 different sides essentially. We've used.
And now I'm confused. To be honest, I don't know. I don't know what we are anymore.
But
I don't think Eddie Howe does here.
We had to have used 24, 25 players in the last 3 games. Like, so, and I hate saying this, but your Emil Crafts aren't going to start Premier League games.
Hey, whoa.
Not happening.
Crap, it was world class.
Lascelles was back on a football pitch at one point in the last 7 days.
I can't believe he got put on against Bournemouth.
But that's, I said it in our group, in the Irish Mags group chat. I was like, lads, we made 7 changes. We didn't start basically our first choice midfield. We didn't do anything we were expecting to. And we went to Bournemouth, a side that absolutely smoked us 4-1 at St. James's Park last year. And we nullified them. We didn't create a whole heap ourselves, but they didn't really create anything either. Now, yes, they could have had Thiago or Chow sent off. If Chow was getting sent off for that, we should have been getting a penalty for the Faltamade book on the shirt. Neither of those things should have happened. Chow shouldn't have been sent off. We shouldn't have got a penalty because it was and he hit the ground. Like, I don't want that. There was not enough contact for a 6'6" centre forward to be hitting the deck like a ton of bricks. Get up and get on with it. The Chow handball, stupid. The tackle, silly as well. But you can't. If you're not getting that penalty, you're not getting that red card. But it was the fact we made so many changes against a very, very good Bournemouth side. Let's be honest about it, and put it up to them. And then we went out against Bradford, arguably played lads that needed minutes in their legs and our second choice side, and put them to the sword. A side who are top of League One and have constantly done well this season. And we really didn't get out of second gear and were comfortable. So it only bodes well for the next year at least. A couple more players and we have a very, very, very good squad there. So all to look forward to.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a better squad. Definitely a better squad than there was last year, without a doubt.
And that's what I was going to ask you, Chris. Looking at those last 3 games, as Alan said, we saw probably the most number of players feature over the course of 3 games than we have in 3 years in terms of like the rotation. 2 seasons ago, we probably would have seen 13 players play those 3 games, maybe 14. Whereas now, heavy rotation, but strong to the point where, you're starting to kind of question, and thankfully we're starting to question, like, what is our strongest 11? I don't think we know that, and I don't think Eddie knows that, and I think that's fine. But the question for you, Christian, would be, any players kind of surprise you or stand out for you? When you think about traditionally our strongest 11, is probably the same as it was last season, with Elanga maybe on the right, not based on form, but just the big names lining and a striker up front.
I think, I'll tell you who didn't stand out. Elanga hasn't stood out. No. I think he needs to do a lot more. I think he needs to take his chances. I think he needs to get focused a little bit more on his crossing. He's no Jacob Murphy, I can tell you that, but he's a different player to Jacob Murphy. I get that. But I think he's just been a little bit slack. He's lost the ball a couple of times. He's kind of headless chickeny a little bit. I know he's still trying to fit into the way Eddie Howe does things in the formation. Somebody who stands out for me is, and I'll tell you why, because he got absolutely lambasted post the Bournemouth game, was Lewis Miley. Again, we're all sick of saying he's just a young lad. He is only 19. He's put on a bit of bulk. He looked a little bit lost, and he looked like he was losing the ball a little bit. At Bournemouth, he lost his confidence a little bit, but he stuck with it. He stuck on the pitch. He did the best he could, and he got a point for collectively. We got a point out of Bournemouth last night. Playing with Bruno and Joelinton, he was fantastic. His passing ability through the middle, out to the wings. He didn't really pass back as much as he did against Bournemouth. I think he looked really, really solid. I think he really impressed Eddie Howe last night as well. And you're kind of thinking, well, maybe League One, playing against League One teams is his level. I don't agree with that. I think that he showed real style and real class last night to control the game from midfield, which allowed Bruno and Joelinton to get assists and get goals because they knew Louis Miley was looking after the midfield for them. So I think he did himself really proud. So that's somebody that stood out because he took quite a knock as a young lad after Bournemouth. He took it on the chin, he braided it in, and he went back on the pitch against Bradford and he played really well. He was man of the match, or second man of the match anyway. But look, Elanga, I'm trying again, like you were saying there, Paul. Eddie Howe doesn't know his best 11. I think he does know his best 11. He just doesn't know where to put them. And in what?
Yeah, and they're not, and maybe they're not all available when you're thinking about Wissa and then the Gordon suspension, and then there's different reasons why different players are chopping in and chopping out, and rotation is obviously key here, even though it's early in the season. Here's one then, Alan, for you while we wrap up then the past 7 days, because there's so much to cover.
Yeah.
One of the things I recall us speaking about in particular was about the defence, the centre-back pairing, and in particular about Fabian Schär, because I think as it stands right now, Dan Burn for me still is relatively undroppable. Even though at one point in the Bournemouth game, wasn't it, he was like our most potent attacking threat because he just started going on these like mazy runs, and he ended up on the left wing and then down the right. At one point I was like, Dan, can you just calm down for a minute? But one of the things I remember talking about was, what does it take for particularly Fabian Schär? And Fabian Schär has been amazing, and like I have no problem with Fabian Schär continuing to start. Hasn't put doesn't put a lot of feet wrong, barring like a lapse of concentration where a player gets away from him in the Rashford scenario, or getting turned by quicker forwards, but that hasn't happened too often lately. But now he's got he got concussion, right?
Yes.
This could be a pivotal moment in like the Fabian Schär kind of
career,
first choice. I wouldn't say career. I don't think he's going anywhere, and I think we have enough games that there's enough minutes.
No, I mean like it'll be the.
It could be a turning point.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
I do agree.
Yeah.
I do think Chow. Now it all depends.
That's the question.
It's Chow.
Is it Chow or Botman in that right?
Chow.
Yeah, Chow. Chow is Schär's heir to the throne. Botman is Burns' heir to the throne. It is like, let's not beat around the bush. Schär and Burn may still well be Newcastle players next season. They will not be first choice Newcastle players next season.
Maybe not together.
Burn will be 34, 35 as a centre half. And Schär will be 33, 34. Neither of them are blessed with pace. It's only going to get slower and slower as it goes. And the Premier League is only going to get faster and faster. So you can't drop someone until they give you a reason to drop them. Schär's concussion might have just given the reason to drop him. So if Chow comes in and does well, it's up to Schär it'll be said to Schär that, look, we told Chow until he's in there and makes it, or you don't make a mistake, you don't lose your spot. Same has to be said for Chow. So fair is fair. Burn, on the other hand, I can't see being dropped. Not this side of Christmas anyway, unless something drastic happens. But he is one of these players that, bar the Luton game 2 years ago, I don't think he's ever really had a bad game for Newcastle.
Agreed, yeah.
He doesn't get done for pace. He might not be the fastest man in the world, but he reads the game so well that he doesn't need to be. So Botman is going to find it harder to break into that squad. But once he does, it'll be hard for Burn to get back into the squad as well. So I do think you're kind of seeing a crossroads in Schär's career at Newcastle, as in he will now kind of merge into a squad player and not a first team regular. But I think that might start now.
Yeah, we're starting to see, like, in the last 2-3 years, like, it was always one or the other. We're always in the squad. Usually it was Burn, And when there came to rotation, because Cher just loves getting bumps on the head and taking tumbles, but never really goes out for long periods. Obviously, again, in the Bournemouth game, the two lads are starting alongside Dan Burn, and then with Bradford, it's Botman and Chow. And as we said, is this a glimpse into the future, but a near future? It is the first time we've seen Eddie Howe kind of acknowledging by his actions that there is a future state of this centre half pairing that he's been quite tied to. Let's say, maybe without having a choice, Botman's injury issues, being what they are. And then it's taken this long to bring in Malik Chow. We tried for Gahey. We were looking at Scalvini, all these different names. It took a long time to get Malik Chow in. It felt like we were chasing him for 3 years. So I suppose it is encouraging, not just that we all think that Botman and Chow are the future, but that Eddie Howe is clearly showing he believes that too, and that isn't too far away of a future.
I can also see us ending up with a 3 at the back, but I can see it with a 3-4-3 where it's 3 centre halves, but you drop Joe Linton. And listen, I said this 2 years ago and got pelters for it. I said it last year and got pelters for it. I'll say it again this year for it. Out of the midfield 3, he is the weak link. I am not saying he's a bad player. I want to emphasize this point.
Oof.
I am not saying Joe Linton is a bad player. But out of our midfield trio of Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali, and Joe Linton, he is the droppable one. You cannot drop Bruno. You cannot drop Tonali. So if you're going 3-4-3, you go with Bruno and Sandro in the midfield. You go with Hall and Livramento as wing backs, and then you go with Gordon, Alanga, Voltemade, or Vissa, or whoever you want up front. That's how you incorporate a 3-4-3.
Right. Okay.
And I think, Chris, I think the point about I think we'll never not see a world where it's the fullbacks, wing backs are there with Livramento and Hall. I think that's more borderline Ruben Amorim forced tactics, and good God, let's not do that. No. But I think that the point here, and this is why it's a good thing to bring up, is that look at the conversation we're having about options. We've just never had this before.
Yeah,
Eddie Howe has these choices. The first time we ever saw this 3 centre backs, 5 at the back, whatever you want to call it, was against Arsenal last season, and it just kind of like caught them by surprise, and Fabian Schär was just murdering Declan Rice and everything was rosy. But now this is like an evolution of tactics. It's an evolution of the 4-3-3, whereby it's the 4-3-3 we all know, but it doesn't have to be rigidly stuck to the way it's always been. It kind of can depend who's in there. And then, obviously he can flip that then. He knows he's got the defenders there to sit back, do the 3. Tino and Hall pushing on. I think there's so much more to come from Hall now that he's back, and it's brilliant for us to have.
He was brilliant against Bradford. He gives the side so much balance against Bradford. I watched the whole 96 minutes, and Hall was majestic. He really was very good.
And Hall is the kind of player you can see game on game improve in confidence and improve in fitness and sharpness. We saw it as well when he came into the side last season. He literally got better. Every game we watched, it was like every time we came away from a game, it was like, fuck me, Lewis Hall is getting better. Fuck me, Lewis Hall is class. Suddenly he's in the England squad. Then he was linked with a move to Liverpool before he got injured, and then they went off and signed Kirkes, and that's been, thankfully, a train wreck for them too so far. So, we've loads of options. And I think the biggest takeaway for me here on this, lads, is regardless of what lineups we're doing, particularly defensive lines, and who's playing where, we've 4 clean sheets out of 5 in the league. Right, we conceded 1 goal against Bradford, and shout out to Andy Cook, a Geordie fan, local boy,
Class,
and he is in dreamland. Absolutely weapon of a goal. It's the best goal I've seen in a match all season so far.
It's not often you not celebrate, but it's not often you see a goal going against your team. And you go, holy shit, what a goal!
Yeah. And you're like,
yeah.
I heard the commentators they were literally name checking him a few times before the game started, and he's a local boy, and what an occasion for him. And then it had to be him that scored. So, look, as much as I hate Rashford and didn't want Rashford to score, you wouldn't begrudge Andy Cook scoring against Newcastle in that game. So fair play. And it finished like that. But, barring that goal, latter end of a game, concentration dropped, and then obviously conceding against Liverpool, we've looked incredibly solid.
Yeah.
And that's, 4 clean sheets where we've had different people playing in different lineups and whatever. You know what I mean? So that is a really strong foundation. Tons of confidence there. Nick Pope is playing quite well, I think. Hasn't been booting the ball as badly either.
One more thing I want to say about Nick Pope, and I never thought I'd say it. I said it twice this week. His distribution has been excellent. There was a
getting better.
yeah. There was a ball.
I mean,
There was a
hang
ball.
on a second,
No.
Dagger.
There was a long kick out that he done, and I went, "What's he?" And it went straight to to Murphy's feet, and I was like, "That was a 70-yard pass. That wasn't just him hoofing the ball." And it was the same against Barca. I think he picked out a couple of passes, and I was like, "Lads, as I will be the first to say the man can't use his feet. The last 3 or 4 games he's played, it hasn't been the worst distribution. I'm not saying he's turned a corner by any stretch of the imagination, but we're quick enough to give him pelters that when he's doing it right, we have to say, no, credit where it's due. You're doing well there. And he is doing better now. And I think that's down to Ramsdale. I think he's gone, oh shit, that man is so much better than me with the ball at his feet. I am slightly better as a goalkeeper, that I need to improve my game big style, or I will be number 2 quite quickly. So that's what I think has happened there.
I think we're also playing the ball a bit better at the back. Like he's not having to panic and go for these long. Like I'll always go back to a game towards the end of the season. Was it Chelsea? Where Jacob Murphy was wide open on the right, just inside the halfway line, and any one of us would have just played kind of a slightly arced low pass along this lovely, clean, flat surface, and it ended up at the top of the Milburn of the East End. I can't remember which side it was, and I was like, "What the fuck." We haven't seen that level of panic too much yet. I think that there's a very calm state at the back. Chow was unbelievable on the ball. Botman is unbelievable at the ball. Trippier is unbelievable on the ball. Trippier is going from strength. Livramento, Tino, and Hall. Like these are lads that are probably making more of an effort to receive shorter passes and not have to have Pope under pressure or driving the ball away, because it just brings unnecessary focus on the worst part of his game. But he's been making some serious saves already this season and kept us in it a few times. So. Shout out to Nick Pope. Right, let's take all of that then, because there's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah,
there's a whole lot going on there. But like the takeaways here are, we've got this depth that we've never had before. We've got the solidity at the back, regardless of what the back line formation and or lineup is, and we're looking solid. Goal creation questionable. Goal chances, taking our chances. There's a lot more to do there. We need some more players to step up. Barnes, Elanga, Gordon, and then obviously Big Nick as he settles in, and then let's get Wissa back as soon as we can. But all of that tees us up for a fixture against Arsenal. Now, lads, before we talk about Arsenal at the weekend, I do have to shout out 2 listeners of this podcast who I know listen to this podcast every week and are Arsenal fans.
Yeah, I can throw another. Yes, I can throw another one in for you as well.
So I just said they're all like, literally every time a podcast out,
I get some right now.
Comment. We're living so deep in their heads rent free that these 2 lads checks each other privately about our podcast, about things that are going on, and then I get screenshots from one of them going, "This is what we're talking about," and they've made outrageous comments in the past. But shout out to the Chuckle Brothers. Let's see if you're chuckling after this weekend. That's all I'm say.
I'll say the same as that to me little brother. Okay.
Shit. Yeah, I tell you, lads, we are living in their heads rent free.
We'll pay them a special visit in person. You know, they can come and meet us. I'll sign a few things.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, and I've said this to them, and now I'm going to out them on the internet, right? Because I feel like them, because I can. They're both going, right. This is how plastic these Arsenal fans are. They're both going to the NFL in Dublin on Sunday, and it's going to overlap with the Newcastle Arsenal game. And I have questions over whether they're going to make
get them in here. Please,
and then I said to them, do you know when you're walking back to Dublin, lads, from Croke Park, there's a pub on the way in, and they both know it's there. And I've said it to them now. So if they don't show up,
give them my number. I'll get them in. Don't worry about it. We'll get them in.
It's not about getting them in. It's whether they have the balls to show up. But now it's out on the internet, lads. Let's see what you can do from there.
If we beat Arsenal this Sunday, and I say when we beat them, the lads are perfectly welcome to pop onto the podcast for a smashing, a slagging of 5 minutes. We can just ask them what they think about how they're going to come 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, or 7th this year, again with their boohoo manager.
We'll just see what excuse they. I mean, if it does happen, we'll just see what excuse they have, because they're quite good at coming up with excuses. I mean, I will take the most narrow 1-0 victory with the most controversial VAR-driven ball on the line, push on the back, anything at all, just to watch the tears flow down.
Look, I'll be honest. My better half is an Arsenal fan, and always has been. I have no idea why. She still doesn't have any explanation of it. And I'm not going to be down in the bigger street. I'm going to be going on it's a birthday this weekend. So we've been invited out to a kind of a watch party thing, part of a birthday thing. And I'll be with 4 Arsenal fans and me. So I'm going to be decked in black and white. And I'm going to thoroughly enjoy it. And I'll send some cry face from them when we smash them. I'm going to say 2-3-0. Just saying it.
He's jumping into predictions early, but this is where I suppose this can bring us into it really, is for the first time in a while, I don't have a clue really what lineup we will have at the weekend. And normally I like to think, I understand football and I know Newcastle and I know what Eddie Howe is intended. I'm a little bit like, what is Eddie Howe going to do? And this is the first question, I suppose. Alan, is he 4-3-3? We're at home. We've rattled them before. Let's go at them again. Joe Linton is in beast mode. Let's make full use of that. Or do you think he's liable to go, well, geez, you Burn, Shaw, Botman, no one's getting past them. I've got my wing backs. And then that means, what do you do in midfield then between Sandro, Bruno and Joe Linton? Where is he going with this one?
I think we're going to see 4-3-3. But I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I'm going, no, we're at home. We're going to go for it. But I would not be surprised to see the 5-3-1-1 again and see Gordon going up top with Voltemade behind them.
So here's my take before I come to Chris Shaw. If in the world where he goes 3 at the back, right? So that's likely Chow, Botman and Byrne. You got Tino and or Trippier / Hall, depending on what he goes with that. Mm-hmm. Then, Alan, we're back in that scenario where he's always going to want to have those wide players, right? So that could be Murphy and Barnes. It could be Elanga and Gordon. It could be either or mixed. But then you're suddenly down to 2 in midfield. And there's no way Bruno or Tonali don't play. How can he not play Joe Linton in this game for what Joe Linton brings? And that, for me, the Joe Linton factor means to me that's what makes it the 4-3-3 that we all know and that we're well used to.
But you just play it 3 centre-halves, 5 in the middle, as 2 wing backs and 3 centre midfielders, and then you have the 3 boys in there.
Tino, Hall, Joe Linton, Bruno, and Sandro.
Yeah. And then you have Voltemade and Gordon up top, or Voltemade.
And then you're down to those 2, and do you lose that width, or do the this is where, and we've not really seen that yet, right? When he's played the 3 at the back, he's usually put 2 in the middle in order to have those kind of fixed 2 wingers forwards up top. That would be a slight deviation for me.
Imagine after 60 minutes. 0-0, and you look to the sideline and Elanga and Barnes, or Elanga and Gordon, or Murphy and Gordon, or Murphy and Barnes are warming up, and you're going, oh shit, we're an hour into a game, we've just been running around like lunatics. And Anthony Elanga is the fastest footballer I've ever seen, until I seen that Jackson lad who plays right back for Wolves. He's not, you can't even see him when he's running, but Anthony Elanga is rapid. No fullback in the world wants to come up against that after an hour of running after someone else. And to have them fresh legs to come on is unbelievable. That's why I could arguably see the 5 at the back. But I'd like to
get off
say,
the fence. What does Eddie Howe do?
What does Eddie Howe do?
On Sunday?
Fucking plays 4-4-2 just to throw another spanner into the work, probably.
Yeah, that's the thing.
No, Eddie, I think, plays 4-3-3 because we're at home.
Yeah.
But I do think I'm not even on the fence. I don't know is the honest to God's answer.
Chris Shaw. Dude, just put Alan out of his misery there, because I mean we rarely see Alan a bit bamboozled here in the podcast.
Yeah.
It's just too much equations going through his mind at the moment and he's losing it.
Yeah, I've just seen loads of like square roots and stuff floating around his head. Look, I think the 4-3-3 is the obvious. We're at home, go and smash them, and so on. But who plays? Who's the 3 up front? Who is it? Barnes, Gordon, Elanga, Murphy, Voltemade. Is Asula get a chance? Does he come on? I think we'll all kind of go, no, so it doesn't. But I've got an awful feeling what we're going to see is, like we were talking about all this podcast, is an evolution of Newcastle United. We're going to see 2 formations. We're going to see a shift. And it's going to happen at 60 minutes. So we're going to start with the 5 at the back, which, like Al said, it's going to be 5, essentially 5-3-1-1. but then that will turn into 3-5-1-1 throughout the first half, going into the second half. See how that goes, trying to cover the spaces, and then he's going to smash it for 4-3-3 for the last 20 minutes, last 25 minutes down the hill with the whole crowd. So you might even see 3 formations. So we're going to have to be a lot more fluid with the players that we have now. And
Allen is going to have a meltdown with all this. 3 formations in one game.
Formations in one game.
Can't do it.
I mean, it's just going to be shifting around and replacements made. But I think the 4-3-3, it's going to be in the second half of the game when we're really at them going down the hill. They're going to bring. I think Elanga's going to be on the bench. I think Barnes is going to be on the bench. Or Gordon. I've got an awful feeling Gordon's going to be on the bench against Arsenal as he's going to be brought on in the second half.
I think the thing here is like there's an argument to be made based on form that any 2 of those 4 could start this game, and it would be very hard to say someone does or doesn't deserve it. Is that because none of them have really made the case, or because they all are? Probably the first one.
Murphy is arguably our most informed winger at the moment out of all 4 of them.
Yeah.
Having assisted Nick Voltamati for his goal against Wolves.
Yeah, but that's all.
It is like it's sadly true. Yeah.
But or if you're going off in form, Asula has to start. He's our top goal scorer.
Yeah.
Like you can't do it sometimes.
I don't think Arsenal are ready to have their hearts broken by Will Asula just yet. That would be too cruel. I do think it'll be 4-3-3. I do think it'll be a bit more reverted type. It's worked against them in the past multiple times, home and away. And I do think that there is this belief in that the back four will be plenty strong enough. Tonali, and they're doing his job as he usually does. It's probably be Chow alongside Dan Burn. I think Botman probably sits on the bench to start off with. And I think that Eddie Howe goes for it at home to go and be leading at halftime or leading after the hour. And then he's turning to Sven Botman or whoever and saying, right, let's make life a little bit more difficult. You're shoring things up at the back, and then you're bringing on, whether it's Elanga, whether it's Barnes, Gordon, to cause those problems.
Who, Paul? Who plays the front? Who's the front three for you?
Like I said, I think Voltamati starts up front for me without doubt. I just don't see a world where that doesn't happen. And then it's who's on either side of him. I do think it's going to be Anthony Gordon. I think we said at the beginning, this is Anthony Gordon's season for me at Newcastle United, and we need to see it happen. And he's a big game player. As far as I'm concerned, he's a big game player. Has done it against Arsenal in the past, has done it against Liverpool in the past. So I'd probably go with Anthony Gordon on the left, and then probably Murphy on the right. Just because I think I won't say we. Eddie Howe knows exactly what he's going to get from Jacob Murphy if he starts him. He doesn't know what he's going to get from Alanga just yet. Yeah, Eddie Howe isn't the biggest of risk takers, so that's the way I would say it. Go with the 4-3-3. We're very solid at the back. Arsenal have been good without being great this season, even though they're already second in the league where they usually are. But I don't see us struggling to contain Gyökeres, to contain, like, obviously Saka hasn't really been playing. Madueke now injured.
Martinelli's on fire.
Saka back.
Saka's just getting back. Like he played like he's played a couple of halves and basically getting back up. I don't know if he'll start this game or not. He might not. They have one area there as well.
It's Martinelli. Martinelli's who
and then they have Eze, who scored his first goal against Port Vale. Granted, so he's one to watch out for as well. But I think we've plenty to contain them at home at St James's Park, and I just think that the stadium will just rattle all these players again as it always does. And I think we'll actually beat them, which will take us on to predictions. And I rarely go first, lads. But I think it's going to be a 2-1 win. And I think we're actually going to go 2-0 up in that game. And then Arsenal obviously have that quality, have that squad depth to try and get back into it. But I just think we're so solid at the back that we'll be able to contain it.
I'll go next. And as much as I want to say we're going to win and win and win, it's going to be a 0-0 draw. And I think it's going to be a really disappointing game. I said it recently where I was like, Liverpool game, it's going to be, and it could be disappointing. It wasn't. It was great, but even though we lost, I think this is going to be the one where we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do that. And Arsenal, like, we're out for revenge, and it'll just be a dreadful game and be 0-0.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jesus. Holy crap. Like I said, 2-0 to the tune. Arsenal will have a red card or a disallowed goal, and one of our goals will be a penalty in the second half. So very specific there. Just as a caveat, little asterisk there, it could also be 2-0 to Arsenal. But, just saying. Either.
We could win, or we could lose, or maybe we draw.
yeah. That's the way it goes.
It's going to be. I mean, Christian, thank God you're not a weatherman. It's going to be sunny tomorrow, but it might rain.
It'll be warm, but also cold.
Expert analysis here.
2-0 to Newcastle, guys.
Go with the 2-0. Okay. Yeah. Well, we're all fairly confident, and I think as a fan base, we're fairly confident, lads. Because look, teams change, everything changes, but I think we've seen enough to be we've seen strong performances. We're starting games well. I think we look back on the last few games and could easily say we could have got more in some of those games, particularly the Barcelona game, particularly the Liverpool game. So they're the 2 games we've lost, and you could argue we didn't really deserve to lose them based on the performances, missing those goals. But again, you'd hope that St. James's Park, Sunday game, televised, big names, big players, big day. Let's try and also ruin Mr. Lego Head's afternoon as well and send them home crying as we normally do.
So
only time will tell.
You're not going, Paul. You are going.
And I am going. Yes, indeed.
Saturday.
I am going over. Yeah, flying over Saturday morning and back Sunday evening. So hopefully come back.
Is there a lot going? Is there a lot?
I know Tev is going. I believe there's a decent crowd going. It is a big one in the calendar. So anyone who is traveling, of course, as usual, make yourself known in the WhatsApp group. There is an Arsenal group there for anyone traveling. In terms of, we'll be letting everyone know what flights everyone's on. I assume, looking at the flight times, there's also a Saturday evening flight. Some people might be on that. But anyone who is on the Saturday morning flight from Dublin, Ryanair, I will be there. Tev will be there, and I'm sure there'll be plenty others. And we're going to have a nice day, I think, on Saturday. Before the stress of all the football on.
I love the way you say nice day, like you're walking around
a nice pleasant day,
smelling flowers and stuff, and
we'll go for a walk.
Classic.
Myself and Tev like to frequent the museums of Newcastle every now and again, go to the library, see some art, and do all those nice things. So.
Very good.
And that is all I'll say on that topic. But of course, anyone who is traveling, as usual, take loads of pictures, get them into the groups. We put all the pictures up on theirishmags.com. So as always, check the website every weekend and to see all the latest images of meetups and all of the Irish Mags traveling in numbers. Don't forget your Irish Mags merchandise as well. We have to represent when on tour.
And just to give a shout out to everyone getting their newsletters and stuff. Thanks for engaging with it and joining in, and it's great. And the October one's coming up very soon, so thanks for everybody for reading and engaging with it. It's been cool to be involved and get it out there.
Absolutely.
Loads happening in the Irish Mags world, and it never seems to end. We've got loads of meetups, Alan, including
we have 2 meetups this week. We have one in Bleecker Street Bar, which is our Dublin HQ, which is where we always are. So if you're in and around Dublin, get yourself into Bleecker Street Bar and join us for a bit of Irish Magnus. But we also have our usual in Quinlan's in Cork with the Cork Brigade of the Irish Mags, who will be wrecking the gaff. Let's be honest, those Cork lads, they're all a bunch of rapscallions. So they'll be in Quinlan's. I'll be in the Bleecker from 3:30 on Sunday. So if you're in and around, I never like to say we're always upstairs because there has been a couple of games where we're downstairs, but 9 times out of 10, you walk in and we're upstairs in our little black and white HQ. But if you walk into the Bleecker, just ask for Johnny, where the Newcastle fans, they'll point you in our way. So don't worry about that.
Yeah, probably standing beside you.
Yeah, probably.
As you go in.
The usual spots indeed. So yes, get along to any of the meetups if you can. And as usual, if you want to arrange any meetups in the coming future, make yourself known. We've got new meetups popping up all over the country. Tipperary has been the latest one. I think there's talks of Westmeath now, most recently, and beyond.
Kildare.
Galway as well.
Kildare. A Mid-Ireland one. Awesome.
I tell you what, lads, if we reach it to another final, I'm going to push for 32 meetups in 32 counties.
We got nine already. Nine was our
last
most.
time. Yeah. So I think it can be done, depending on who's traveling, of course. Because we did have one in Ireland.
9 in Ireland and 1 in London, which was good.
It's not bad, in fairness.
Yeah.
Right. Well, on that note, that brings episode 94 of the Irish Mag Show to a close. Check out all of our socials in the description below. Let us know your predictions, thoughts, comments, everything you have ahead of this big game against Arsenal. I really, really, really hope that we send them home crying. And I'll be crying tears of joy if it happens. So
You are a
until
lucky
then,
charm. You are a lucky charm, Paul. You're over there. You're a lucky charm.
not everybody would agree, Chris Show. Not everybody would agree.
Against London teams, you tend to see us do well.
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
yeah.
Well, if it's anything like Spurs, where there was fans leaving at halftime, yes, please, I will eat it, I will drink it, I will love it. So until then, we shall be back again next week for episode 95. We're going to be only 5 weeks off episode 100. We're going to have to be doing something special around that time. So keep your eyes and ears peeled, folks.
Mm-hmm.
So until all of that, we shall say the usual, Howie the lads, Slán go fóill, and we'll see you all very soon. Thank you very much for listening, and thank you, Alan and Chris Show, for joining.
And thank you, Paul.
Slán yeah, and thank you, Paul. Yeah,
thank you,
Paul.
Thank you, me. It's about time. It
94
episodes. You're very welcome.
Thanks, everybody. Good luck.
Peace out.